Hey, it's Alpine Math Industry, and we're gonna do some fraction busting. So, the last episode, we have been looking and learning about simplifying equations and simplifying equations with fractions. But we did a long time, and it took us 12 minutes to do this kind of problem. When you try and solve for x in fractions, we said in the last video that there was going to be a hack, a much easier, faster way of doing it. And that new way is called fraction busting, because the agenda is get rid of the fractions and get the variable all by itself, but in a different way. So here is our example problem. We have 3 over 4x plus 1 over 8 plus 2 in parentheses is going to equal 1 over 2x plus 2 in parentheses. If we did the math normally, it would take us a very long time. But when we fraction bust, the main agenda to fraction busting is literally getting rid of the fractions we have in the parentheses. And when we get rid of them, we can rewrite a new expression so it will make it easier for us to simplify for the letter x. So the first step to fraction busting is really easy to remember, but I'm not going to reveal it just yet because if you want to guess, you can. And here is the clue. Going back from another video, when we were starting to add and subtract the fractions, we usually would try to add and subtract where the fractions would have the exact same denominator, or something equivalent to the denominator. So 10 over 6 minus 4 over 6, that'll bring us to 6 over 6. Or if we did 1 over half plus 2 over 2, or 1, that's going to equal to 3 over 2. But if you want to put that into a mixed number, that's 1 and 1 over half. Or on the top one when we subtracted, that's going to equal 1. So when we added and subtracted the fractions, we tried to get to have the fractions have the same denominator as the second one to get to an easy answer. So, going back to our problem, if you said that all of the numbers on the bottoms or all of the denominators are divisible by 2 or could be multiples of 2, that is exactly correct. When you fraction bust, you're literally doing the exact same thing. You eliminate them by canceling them out by a number that can be divisible or multiplied by that number. So all the numbers are divisible by 2, but instead, we're going to put an 8 on top of here on the left side and an 8 on the right side instead of a 2, because 8 is the biggest number that could be a multiple of 2. If we wrote 2, for example, and not put the 8s in here, that would be incorrect, and our expression would have a different value. That would not work. But when you have an 8, it tries to condense the expression down to a new, easier expression. The reason why I have the 8s there and there is we have to multiply that by that, that by that, and that by that in these parentheses. On the other side, the 8 has to multiply this by that, and that by that in these parentheses. This reminds me of a video game, because when you play a video game that shoots lasers, something like a starship or something like that, that 8 is saying, okay, I have to use these parentheses as aiming reticles to aim for the target and destroy all of you. So the 8 is technically using one of these. The 8 has to attack this, that, and that, And on the other side, that and that. So let's get destroying. And that is why it's called fraction busting. Because we got to bust the fractions. Let's get started. So 8 divided that by 4 is going to be 2. Multiply that by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. And since we had a variable, we put it as 6x. You see what we just did? 3/4 of 8 will represent 6. Now, 8 divided by 8 is going to be 1. Times 1 is 1. So we add that by 1. 1 is 1/8 of 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. On the other side, we do the same exact steps. 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4. 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4 times 1 is 4. And we have that variable for x. 4 is 1/2 of 8. So you see where it's going? How we can bust the fractions? We now have a much easier example or a much easier expression to work with so we can find what to insert in for x. Now, let's start simplifying normally. We gotta combine like terms, because we gotta subtract that by 4x, and subtract that side by 4x. That is subtraction property of inequality, or subtraction property of equality. So we have now 2x plus 5, because we get to have the 1 and the 4 added together to make a 5, is going to equal 4. We have to subtract that by 5, subtract that by 5, and we get 2x equals -1. Divide that by 2 and divide this side by 2 to get x alone, and here we have it. X is going to equal -1/2, or -1/2. And that is what's going to be put into x to make this equation true and to make it equal. So you see how easy that was? When we got the 8 there, because we knew everything was divisible by 2, but the largest number was 8, not only that, we put it into an easier expression. We got to simplify and get to our answer very quickly. Let's look at one more scenario. Okay, so in this scenario, we have something different. We have 1/5x plus 3 in parentheses is going to equal 1/15x plus 5 in parentheses. We understand that all of these can be divisible by 5. In terms of 15 is the largest number. So we can put 15 up here and put 15 up there. That will tell us the 15 has to attack this and that in this parentheses. And on the other side, the 15 has to attack that and that in parentheses. That is why we call it fraction busting. Okay, so let's start busting the fractions. 15 divided that by 5 is 3 times 1. That's going to be 3x. Plus 15 divided by 3 is going to be 5. It's going to equal 15 divided by 15 is 1 times 1. We have just x, or 1x. And finally, 15 plus 5 is going to be or 15 divided by 5 is going to be 3. So let's start simplifying, because now we have a different expression that we can simplify easier. We can subtract this by 1x, subtract that by 1x, and we have 2x plus 5 is going to equal 3. Subtract that by 5, subtract that by 5, and we get 2x is going to equal negative 2. Divide the 2 by 2x to get x alone because they cancel out, and we get as an answer, x is going to equal negative 1. That is what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to get as our answer. Negative 2 divided by 2 is a negative 1. And when you put negative 1 into the x's in for here, it will make the equation balanced, or the expression balanced. And that is how you fraction bust. I hope this video has helped you. Thank you for watching Tao Penalized Math Industry. Like and subscribe. And let's see if the Roblox guy defeats the robot in Roblox.